very much. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the community outreach that we do at San Diego House Rabbit Society. Most important thing is that at all activities, all events, you must have your educational tools with you. Even if you're just I have it in my car. So when I go out, somebody sees my t-shirt or something like that, or I start talking about bunnies, I have in my car not only educational pamphlets, this is our yellow book. We put this together many, many years ago. And it's a very good primer for people. We give it to all of our adopters. And I have this in my car to give to people. Make sure, like I said, make sure everything's at hand at the same time. And you always want to, if you meet people, you always want to capture their email and physical addresses because they're potential adopters or donors. One of the tools that we use is constant contact. I know that this has been discussed before. It's got an auto. Fun. It not only gets email information out to people, but it also handles online registration, which is invaluable when you're doing events. It also takes payments, disclaimers, and waivers. You want to have your educator, your community outreach volunteers handy at each education, at every opportunity, so they can educate and promote the organization. Plus, when you have flyers, put in a QR code, because there's a lot of people who use their iPhones now. People don't really take flyers anymore, they just take photographs on their phone. So with a QR code, you're giving them a link to registration or information about your event or your organization. Bunny yoga. This is something that has become quite popular, and we were very lucky that we have a supporter who is a certified yoga instructor. So she comes to our organization, to our shelter, and she conducts bunny yoga. However, you don't have to have a shelter to do this. What you're trying to do is market to a different community. That community, in this case, is the yoga community. So you could also work with different yoga studios. Just bring the rabbits with you. And the event itself pays for itself because we charge about $25, and then everybody's doing everything for free, so it makes us a little bit of money. But the most important thing is that it's introducing the community, the yoga community, to rabbits. So after the yoga, we do a brief happy hour, and we have some wine and cheese and fruit, and we just talk to people about the rabbits. And we have that in our shelter, where all the rabbits are. And if you are doing it someplace else, like a yoga studio, then you'll probably have pens that you set up, and then you can all walk around and talk about the bunnies at that point. It's an excellent, excellent way of introducing people to rabbits. There's a couple of things to remember, though. It's important to use single rabbits, not pairs. We put pairs in at one point, and all they did was fight each other. So then we put in females. They fought with each other. Then we put in males. They did the same. But we did a mix of the male and female, and then that kind of worked okay. You have to have at least 8 rabbits. I think everybody knows here that you need to have, the more rabbits you have, the better you're not going to have fighting. You also have to have bunny bouncers. You want them to clean up the poo and the pee. We don't really care about it, but these yoga ladies, I mean, they're like, ooh. So yeah, you've got to be there and clean it up right away. We also, besides the name, email address, and phone number, we ask them to sign a media release. That's important because we want to use these photos as much as possible on social media. Okay, another one that's very, very popular is happy hour. We started this doing once a month, and it was so popular that we had to go to twice a month. We encourage people who do not have a bunny to come to bunny to come to happy hour to learn about bunnies. And also people are hoping to bond their rabbits with another rabbit. They should come as well. Our adoption counselors use happy hour to see if a rabbit wants to have a friend. Not all rabbits want to have friends. Actually, the last happy hour, I brought my rabbit, and she proceeded to just spend all her time with the people. And when I kept shoving her out to say, go meet bunnies, she was like nipping them, saying, no, I want this person here. So it's a good way to find out if your bunny does want a friend or not. We use it as an educational tool to not only teach the public, but also our volunteers about rabbit socialization skills. Some of the nuts and bolts. You should have a minimum, I think you should have a minimum of at least 15 rabbits, and a maximum is determined by your space. We can only, maximum for us is 50. We really can't go more than 50. And to tell you the truth, the problem is not the rabbits, it's the people. We just don't have enough room for the people. You want to have a non-skid cleanable surface for the rabbits. You want to include litter boxes, water balls, toys, and hiding boxes. I know that some chapters also put in agility courses. It's great because you want to have the rabbits do something while they're socializing. However, and I'm sorry about this, Amy, but we had to stop using Cottontail Cottage because what happens is 5 or 6 rabbits get inside that cottage and they just start going nuts in there. So we only use single hiding boxes rather than multiple places where they can hide and get into trouble. Tubes are also good too. We use a lot of those concrete tubes. Use them for forming. Thank you very much. It's early for me. We like those, and we also use the ones that are for cats that are kind of crinkly and have little holes in the middle, so that if scuffle starts inside, you can easily get to the bunny. The amount of bouncers is determined by the amount of rabbits. Typically we have about 40 rabbits, and we have 3 bouncers. You want to make sure that people sit around the perimeter, so they keep the rabbits within their area, their play area, and you want to ask people to encourage the rabbits to play with each other. Anybody can sit around and pet a rabbit. That's not why my bunny is there. My bunny is to socialize with other rabbits. Very important, you have to have them sign a liability waiver, because rabbits can get bitten, although we've never had that happen, but there can be scuffles. And the most important thing is that we make sure that people say that, or let us know, that their rabbits, they have to be fixed at least for 30 days beforehand, and they have to be well. They can't have, if you have a bunny coming in with a runny eye, I'm sorry, you can't go in there. We don't want that liability. We also ask people to sign up ahead of time using Constant Contact, because that contains the waiver. And if they don't click the box, then they can't complete the registration. If you have adoptable bunnies, you can add them into the mix, not only for them to socialize, but also for people to see them. We do this a lot, especially if it's a very small happy hour. What we'll do is we'll bring our bunnies out and we'll say, here's Pepper, and she is a great little bunny, and we give a little introduction, and it's a way to introduce people to the bunnies, hopefully so they'll adopt them. We also encourage people to sponsor adoptable bunnies into happy hour. And this is another way of getting some revenue in. Somebody will come and say, well, I don't have any bunnies, but I'll sponsor one. We'll say, fabulous. And they can either pick which one they want, or we'll pick which one. Okay, this is our big open air fair, Bunny Fest. We do it a little differently than most chapters because ours are outside, because we're obviously in sunny San Diego, at least it's sunny today. And we started this back at the very beginning. I think the first Bunny Fest was held in a winery, and it was very small. Then we moved to a park. Then we moved to an even larger park, and now we're in Balboa Park, which is the heart of San Diego. You want to, if you're going to go to a park, you have to book it early. And you have to prepare to spend money. Not a whole lot of money, but they have, my biggest issue is that I have to, there's all these charity runs and art displays and things like that that goes on, like an art walk that we have down here. And I don't want to worry about that. We have about 45 booths. It's 26 vendors, three food vendors, and about 13 of our booths, which is education, bunny games, things like that. 2017, we had 1,700 people, and we raised $1,900, which is our best ever. Some keys for success: sponsors. They pay the expenses so that everything brought in is profit. In return, we give them a free booth, we give them advertising, we give them t-shirts, advertising on the back of the t-shirt. Location is really, really important. There's got to be plenty of parking. And there's got to be a good amount of walking. We found that that was really important. Teamwork. Volunteers are the key. We use 75 volunteers to run this event on the day of. And about 50 Key Club kids. There's a lot of kids out there in these Key Clubs. They're looking for one-day activities, and they're great. They do all the grunt work. They carry stuff for the exhibitors, all that kind of stuff. Know your audience. Make sure the vendors have bunny-related stuff. And then also in the silent auction, do you have cheap people, or do you have people who will spend $100 for something? So you need to know with your auction items what's going to sell. Charge a small entrance donation, and then people tend to give more. We ask for $1, we'll get 5, 10s, and 20s, keep the change. And also have food for sale and a variety of different vendors. One of the key items is give mini educational presentations, 15 to 20 minutes. It could be as easy as how do you handle a bunny? And then people ask questions. Put your educators and community outreach volunteers in charge of chapter booths, and have lots of different activities, and charge for everything. People understand this is a fundraiser, so charge for everything. This year, the one thing that we started that was really, really successful was a VIP booth. It's a separate tent. They paid $15 online to register early. They got a swag bag, they got a commemorative pin that says VIP, but more importantly, they got a place to sit down. They got fans. Yes, we had fans out there. Free snacks, free soda, that type of stuff. It was so successful, we started out with 50 people first, then we went to 75, and next year we're going to raise the price, and we're also going to have like a family package or something too. Okay, publicity. A lot of people have talked about email. You want to send out weekly or monthly updates depending on what's going on. We send out a weekly update, and in that we talk about this item of the week for the store. We highlight adoptable rabbit, happy adoption photos. We stopped doing happy adoption photos and we got complaints. So they went back into the newsletter. A list of upcoming events with registration buttons, very important. Make it easy for them to click on it and for you to get their money. A list of items that have been donated. You want pictures. You want to thank your donors, even if it's a case of toilet paper. And then also a link of items that are needed, and with a link to our Amazon wish list. We have never had to buy vinegar, toilet paper, paper towels, any of that kind of stuff, because people will just automatically send it to us via our wish list. And then also you want to schedule these updates to go out automatically to all social media outlets. We use Hootsuite. Social media, like we were talking about, what we do is we have a team of people who do social media. So they have, especially when we're coming up closer to events, Amy Spitman was invaluable. She was on our Bunny Fest website and our Bunny Fest Facebook page every single day, talking about this sponsor's here, and this is what they're gonna have for you, and this is what blah, blah, blah. So you wanna create buzz, especially as you're getting closer and closer to the event. And then also we use Facebook Live to promote events, and this is very popular for happy hour. Publicity. Newspapers advertise in pet-related inserts, and also always use their online calendar. Our local newspaper quarterly does a insert that's all about, has adoptable animals in it. So we always put an ad in. You have to have a budget for publicity, and you need to make a budget for publicity because otherwise people don't even know you exist. Local magazines, that we have a couple of pet-related magazines. We always get in that. One is a quarterly, and this is one of our ads that we put in. And then also magazines with wide local distribution. One of these is the AAA Westways, and you have to get into that about 6 months ahead of time, so you have to have your information. I use this for Bunny Fest, so I have to have the date and all the information so that it's free. And I got vendors from that. They saw me in Westways and they said, oh, can we vend on for you? And it turned out they had no rabbit stuff, but it was great to know they were there. And then there's also something that we're going to look at right now. It's small direct marketing magazines to affluent neighborhoods. These go directly in the mail to the neighborhood, right into like Rancho Bernardo, which is a very expensive zip code here. And the nice thing about this, even though it's expensive, is that you can write an article every month. So you could just tell them all about the bunnies and all about your mission. Also, local television. Now, Judith is really the one that got me into it. She had the connections, and then I took over from her. But how it usually works, at least in San Diego, in our market, is that each local television station, they contract with somebody to bring in pets. Now, some of them are the Humane Society, another one is Helen Woodward, but then there's another lady who has a foundation, and we've hooked up with her, and she's able to get us in on different pet segments. I use this a lot, especially when we have events coming up. And then also at Easter time to try and educate people about not adopting for Easter. So you want to network and use your volunteers. We had something happen to us. We had our hay shed, and it was robbed. Somebody got into it. They didn't take the hay, but they did take all the tents and all the brooms and all that kind of stuff. Well, we put a thing out on Facebook saying we've been robbed. And Claire, who's our supporter, her daughter is a producer for the local Fox station. And they picked it up. She told her daughter sent somebody out, and they did a story on site. It was like crazy. And we ended up, our plea was we needed more tents, and we went from 5 tents to like 12. We got so many tents. It was wonderful. And of course, we let them know which tents we wanted, because on our wish list. Also, NBC, has anybody here had anything to do with Clear the Shelters? Good, good. I kind of feel like this about it because I don't want to give a rabbit away for free. What it is it's a one-day nationwide program that NBC, I think together with Petco, PetSmart or Petco, I'm not sure which, Petco Foundation, okay? And all the shelters across the country are supposed to give away animals for that one particular day. I don't really like that, so I said, no, we're going to do a $15 administration fee. You know, I don't want to give away a rabbit. And then the other thing is that we really don't do it that day. I mean, we kind of line up our adoptions and say, if you could, you know, actually do the paperwork on this Saturday, then it'll count towards our numbers. I'm doing it for publicity. I want them to come out. I want the news people, the news trucks to come out to our shelter. And after 3 years of being involved with this, This year, I finally got them to come out. So it's out. I'm trying to let people know who we are. Now, if you're not a shelter, hook up with another shelter. There's a local rescue, a very one-woman deal here. She works with San Diego Humane, so she'll bring her bunnies to San Diego Humane and clear the shelter's adoptions there. And don't be afraid of radio. You have the same contacts for the pet segments, or the same contacts that you're going to have for radio, and it's a really wide audience. I mean, we're on Mighty 1090. That is a sports station only from LA down to Tijuana. But we got a couple adoptions from it. So why not? The only problem is that I have to get up really early in the morning. All this stuff is really early in the morning. But to go right back to the NBC Clear the Shelters, they also do year-round publicity. So once a month, I can go on television and bring a bunny, and it's usually around the noon hour, and the weatherman will interview me, and I can push whatever event we have, or just adoption, or education. So it's a really good opportunity. I think that's it. Are there any questions? Yes.
We're a new group in San Antonio, and we need some flyers with our information, our Facebook, and our website, and so we're trying to get people to take them out to their pet stores in their area. And I went to Petco, and they were happy to put on their bulletin board, but when I went to PetSmart, I asked first, and because they just have like a lost and found for cats and dogs, and he goes, "Oh, you're gonna have to talk to corporate," and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, you know, because it's mainly for cats and dogs." And I'm like, "You sell rabbit stuff, you know," and so I don't know why I got such a pushback from them.
Well,
I tried to explain we're a rescue.
Yeah. I have found that each of these stores are very different depending on the managers. So it really just depends on the manager of that particular store. Some of them are great, and other ones just don't want to deal with you. Yes?
We've actually gotten calls from PetSmart charities wanting us to participate.
Yes.
You just have to register and be approved adoption partners for them.
Yes. You have to register for PetSmart charities in order to go into their stores.
One last question.
No? Okay. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now introducing Gioia. Joy is president and chapter manager of the House Rabbit Society of Missouri St. Louis, celebrating its 20th anniversary, and is a longtime member of the International House Rabbit Society's board of directors. Joy has been deeply involved in educating not only rabbit caretakers, but also veterinarians and vet techs interested in rabbit medicine. Under Joy's leadership, Missouri HRS has produced 2 Missouri Veterinary Medical Association accredited rabbit veterinary conferences. She also teaches the rabbit portion of the vet tech program for Brown Mackie College in Fenton, Missouri. Joy is also a licensed wildlife rehabilitator and helped create the Wildlife Rehabilitation Clinic in Missouri. Her specialty, as you might expect, is cottontails. Joy.
Thank you. And let's see, I'd love to be up here again this time. So community outreach. Okay, this is continuing on with what Patricia is going on with. Community outreach is really, really important. Okay, you're trying to get your message out, and you're trying to reach a lot of people. Okay, what is community outreach? Well, it goes on to be basically, businesses. Community outreach workers may work for cities, counties, schools, districts, but in our case, it's animal rescue. Workers distribute information, blah, blah. Well, that's what we're doing. We are trying to reach, put our message out there to the community. Okay, all of us are workers, okay, and we're going to go through this, distribute information about our care, being able to get liaison, helping people connect with us. Okay. Every one of you, it doesn't matter whether you're an individual educator, whether you're a single person in rescue, whether you're an entire group, every single volunteer meets people every single day. How many of you you're wearing your t-shirt and somebody asked you, oh, what is that? Okay. You're at the grocery store, you're buying bok choy or something. What do you use that for? Okay. You're at the checkout counter. Are you buying for a restaurant? Okay. I know. I've had people with, how big of a salad are you making? And then so, and if they ask you a question, and if there's not a long line behind you, I mean, not only that, but the next time you're at the store, they're high, and so you get a lot of this type of thing. You're wearing your house rabbit shirt over there. All of these things. You're at the pet store, okay? You're in line. You're getting something. You see the, oh. Do you have a bunny? Oh, I really like this food over here because, okay. And you get a chance to educate. So, and then of course they're, oh, how do you know this or why? And you start, you engage. And has been mentioned, Patricia, she's got that booklet in there. A good thing to have on hand is business cards. They're really cheap. You can get them online, and have something you can hand out. So it's like, oh, here you can get more information. Because again, they're not wanting to stand there for 20 minutes talking to you. Sometimes they are. But most of the time, you want to be able to give them a quick source of information. All right, we distribute our information and about our work, about the rabbits, all of these different places. So we're going to go through this, but like I said, there's a lot of places that we can reach. Sometimes we don't think about them. Okay, your own events. This is obviously very obvious, but there are other places. Like we've done events at the Central Veterinary Conference in Kansas City. There's like 3,000 vets and vet techs there, and initially this we started years back, and they had no exotic classes for rabbits at all when we started doing there. And the vets were coming out and asking us questions. And fortunately, we had some veterinarians we could say, oh, because if somebody was asking me about a surgery procedure, it's like, okay, no, here, this is somebody you can contact. But if they were asking me a diet question or a housing question or anything like that, there was lots of stuff. Well, the conference picked up on this. And after a while, they started having exotic classes on rabbits. Okay, so your own, again, your own information on your own events. Have people who engage other people when they come in right off the bat, so that this is the very first thing this welcoming situation. You feel welcome when you come in there. Every single thing you do. This particular event is basically a sales event. We are not trying to promote this as an educational event, but we are trying this. It's a fundraiser for us. But guess what? Every single volunteer that's out there doing something, when people are asking questions at the bunny spa, and your bunny's nails trimmed, at the photo booth, this is how you hold. Anything, every single little piece of information you put out there is also community outreach. Let's see. We also do Memberit meetings. We do, our meetings are also open to the public. We started out with a little tiny group, and pretty soon it grew to where we try to do a monthly meeting on our St. Louis side, but our Illinois side, we're right on the Mississippi River, so we have an east side and a west side of our group. And on our Illinois side, we now have so many adopters that we actually have a bi-monthly meeting on the Illinois side as well, and it brings in every bit as many people to that meeting as it does at our meeting. Okay, you can make your education fun. Okay, so some of our meetings, we do a sharp presentation on an educational topic. We also sell supplies at our meetings because not everybody can come out to our store. And so, like the top one, we did a maze for one of our October meetings, and we put an obstacle course out there. So we had things like we had a little Dracula bunny, we had a Monty Python bunny with blood dripping down. We had ghost bunny. There was the little tunnel, and that's ready for the bunny to come. Bunny didn't care, but everybody's going, ooh, because you see it's just the position there. This particular thing was actually an outside hutch. Okay, ooh, scary, you know, and then we had pictures of like predators all around it. So, yeah, again, the bunnies didn't care, but the people loved it, you know, and the bunnies had a blast, okay? We did an obstacle course, you know, for a timed event, and these two are three-legged bunnies, and they were in categories. We had a category for large bunnies, medium-sized bunnies, and small bunnies, you know. And in their division, they each took second place. Going through three-legged bunnies. I need to tell you this, he flew through that course, okay? And again, what a great educational promotion. People are seeing that these three-legged bunnies what they can do. This one particular thing is out at the University of Missouri. They have their veterinary students have an open house. Most of you have a university, and if you've got one that teaches, you know, that has veterinary courses, connect with them. You know, do they have any other students? Sometimes have clubs, and you can talk in a club. We've been invited to several of those, and they have this event. They ask us to come to talk to people about rabbits. And when we're talking to the people about rabbits, guess what? Veterinary students are asking us questions too. Ooh, I didn't know that. We have all kinds of things. This past summer, we actually had 2 veterinary students come volunteer with us over the summer. So you know, again, all that is just any little thing that you do. You know, this was again, I had this slide yesterday, but if there's anything, any events, a lot of times other organizations put on a pet exhibit, Midwest Fun Fest, or you know, around here. If any of the shelters have anything, participate. You know, make sure that you're very inclusive of children, because even though we very strongly, like during our orientation, we don't want the bunny housed in the child's bedroom, type of thing. Still, families are a big source of your adoptions, and a lot of times the parents, and we really stress this about, the parents have to be the person who is the long-term committed person. But a lot of they're seeing this, they want their children happy, they're looking for pets, sometimes they don't want cats or dogs. So be very inclusive of children when you are working, at a public event. Let's see, your non-rabbit events, we mentioned this before. Even though this is a non-rabbit event, you've got a lot of non-rabbit people at your event, it's your time to at least say a little bit about your organization. Again, same thing pretty much, and I mentioned this yesterday. These 2 bunnies got adopted simply because they were more social than a lot of the other bunnies, but they are ambassadors. The people see these bunnies running around, and we do the same thing as San Diego. We have a mix of bunnies. We generally have between 8 and 10, depending on how many yoga people are there, and we've had generally between 15 and I think we had 39 yoga people at one of the classes. So you have more bunnies when you have more people. But the bunnies, they have a blast, and they really show themselves off well. Let's see, again, just, most of these people were not bunny people, okay? But we got to say a little bit of something about them. All these different things. Summer camps, we've been invited to different summer camps for Girl Scout schools. Missouri Botanical Gardens has a couple of events. One is their Missouri Market, and a lot of people are there. Simply, again, you're getting people who never might even think about bunnies, but because they're at a completely separate event. The Missouri Botanical Gardens also has what they call their extravaganza at Easter. They specifically asked for us to be there then. And of course, we do, most of the stuff is just, people engaging people. And this is where one of our photographer came up with the idea of doing cardboard Easter eggs with photos of our bunnies. And it was just like, it was $2, $2 an ornament. But the kids loved it, and of course the parents paid for it, Let's see, next. Okay, any of the shelters, leave your information at these shelters, because if somebody does adopt a bunny from that shelter, they've got your information. Make sure the shelters know about you. The basic shelters around us that do adopt out bunnies, we've told those shelters that we will give any adopter a free year membership with our organization. And we also provide free bunny nail trims to all of our adopters. And guess what? It brings those people in constantly, okay? So we lose, you could make money on that, but at the same time, they come constantly. They come to our meetings, they come into our store, so all the time because of this. And these people here, that's a real good cost savings. And a lot of people don't like doing their own bunny nails. So, again, with the shelters, the information is there. It helps bring some people in. Let's see, again, this is schools or any place else. This is at one of the shelters. They had an event, for children. They asked us come in to talk to people about bunnies. I put Macy's up there. They actually will help with free printing for charity events. You have to contact somebody at Macy's, but that's, a good source. Again, any kind of the children's events, this is our future. And we have to take a look at children. This is our future, so we're educating them. Again, bingo, right there. Same thing at the schools. We've been invited to numerous schools. This is a case where, and we get this a lot, the children all send thank you cards. We have a door, we post the thank you cards. We've got high schools. Some of the high schools actually have various clubs. Some of them are just service organizations. This particular school actually has a rescue animal organization. So some of their students actually come weekly to help clean cages. The youth groups, again, inner city, anything at all, anywhere that people, they love to have these animal groups come in. Okay, we mentioned this before too. This was at a senior citizen home. So we're obviously not expecting those people to adopt or anything, but it is being out in the community, and their family members hear about that. This particular organization was for mentally challenged adults and youth, and again, it really didn't, bring anything in, but it was just being out there. They loved it. Okay, so you're trying to reach people at their home base, their location, which you were seeing some of that, bringing them into your home base. Obviously, you're spreading the word. You're making people aware, and you are gaining more volunteers. We've had people go, this is really interesting. I love bunnies. And I didn't know about you. You've got your stuff out there everywhere, it seems like. And how often do you hear, I didn't know about you? Okay, so you just keep trying, getting it out there, teaching people about their care. Every place that you're at the pet store, oh, this is really good food. Okay. You're gaining more adoptions, you're saving lives. Okay, so reaching people at their home base, like I said, the high school, it could be a church activity. We actually have the Harley-Davidson groups in our area have a charity connection, and they do they'll have, I forget, popcorn or something in the summer, but they let the charity group come in and do this, and their people are coming in for their motorcycle stuff, or their boots or whatever, and you know what? They actually spend a lot of money on what you're doing. Oh, really? That's really neat. All these different places, use some different ideas, to reach out. Bringing people into your home base. We have a lot of youth groups and Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts that come in. You're spreading that word, and we always make the parents come in with them. Because one of the things we tell people, we want the Girl Scouts to help or whatever, we can't be responsible for children. Okay, you have to have a parent or a guardian with that child, and they do sign a release because we are, talking about working with animals. But I always tell the parents, you're responsible for your child. Your child's not allowed to do anything that you don't want them to do. If you approve what they're doing, you're the responsible party. We try not to have them, reaching into the cages and stuff like that. But there are a lot of things that they can do, and afterwards we will get out, 2 or 3 bunnies that are really easy to pet and let them groom and sit with them and that sort of thing. Again, they love it. They bring in supplies. They do drives for you. Taking advantage of any local events you had. We did this one this year because we had the big solar eclipse, and this one came right over our place. And so we actually took advantage of that, and one of our members had he was really into this, and he was going to be, where he lived was just outside of the eclipse area. We come down here, it's like, well, this is a great idea. He brought his telescopes, people have a good time. Again, we do this. If you have any area in your around you that has a vet tech program, there's a lot of them around. Search them out. See if they will let you come in and talk to their students about bunnies. In this particular case, one of the teachers, the instructors, was somebody I had volunteered with at Wildlife, and she asked me to come to do a talk on a certain portion, and I actually said, well, what is your whole curriculum? And I looked at that and I said, why don't I do the whole thing? And she's like, okay, because she knew me. Now the other teachers did not. So the first time I showed up, all the teachers are there to see what I'm talking about. By the time I got finished, the head teacher comes, she goes, you know 10 times more about bunnies than I do. So right off the bat, it was there. And then they started bringing the students to our place, because it was much easier than me going to their place. And the students loved it because now they're going somewhere else and they're actually seeing things in action. Okay. Eagle Scout projects, this is a great source of having things. This was, oh my gosh, this young man just did an incredible job. And so we wanted some obstacle things for bunnies to play in, and this is the stuff he produced. Okay. Fun. Now this was another big project. We got some property behind us. Again, all of this stuff, is incremental steps. But we wanted to put kind of a pathway through our property in the back. And they brought in a whole group of Boy Scouts and put a pathway in, built a couple of benches. Okay, this one was, was a real interesting one. When we started out, this was weeds this high in this area behind our building. This is, afterwards, those are 2 nature circles. It's got all kinds of native plants and flowers in it. Is that one of our members comes out every other week and mows this area, but we had a lot of scrub trees in there and things like that. So one of our volunteers, she's a master naturalist and a member of the, anyway, she's in connection with the Missouri Botanical Gardens, and she had friends who were master conservationists. She presents this little thing because we're trying to keep this as a very natural area. So they were very interested. So we're going to come out and help. Okay, so just a little story to go along with this. I knew that these people were coming. It was a pretty cold day because what better time to be cutting stuff down when there's no leaves everywhere and no bugs. So I'm in the kitchen area, and the curtains are open in there, and this guy taps on the window, because we didn't have, there wasn't somebody at the front door, wearing a ski mask and carrying a chainsaw. Thank goodness I knew that they were coming. It was like, oh, okay, he's coming to cut down the trees. Okay, this is an after area. This is a little edge of the nature area, and this is actually what it is like back there now. Well, we have, in fact, some of the cottontails that I've saved, I have released back there. We have 2 what's called cottontail hideaways that we built. These are brushy areas right out in the middle of the grass. So the bunnies actually have a place where they can dive into to get away from hawks or owls or whatever. But so they get out into the grassy area. So they've got this area, they've got these cottontail hideaways, and they've been thriving back there. Every step of the way, you're spreading the word, making people more aware, teaching people about the appropriate care of rabbits. Every single thing you do, from wearing that T-shirt, to at the store, at the grocery store, everything. Engage people constantly. Don't be afraid to engage them. If they're not interested, okay, fine. That's, but if they're have any interest at all, they'll ask you questions, and be open to that. Okay, so. I deliberately did this, we actually did, at 20 years, in 1997 there was like 1 meeting. In 1998 we had like 3 meetings and 1 activity, and there wasn't a whole lot of people there. In 2016 we had 124 activities and meetings. Now this includes things like our monthly meetings, our bi-monthly meetings in Illinois. We are at 4 PetSmart charity stores. And so that's a monthly situation as well. So that accumulates. But some of these are also like these Girl Scouts, being in schools, going to different places. And as you grow, you add these things. So one of the things I really want to mention is that we were talking about growing your organization yesterday. You're not leapfrogging into this. It's really, really scary to look at something like this and go, oh my gosh, can't do that. Okay, you start with one thing. One thing that that information that Edie had out there, 1 step. Okay, don't ever think of it as this giant staircase. You will never get there. Put out there your hopes and your ideas, your goals, but you start with that one step. Okay. Why do you do this? You want to become the go-to. You want people to know who you are, and you want people to come to you. Okay. So you want to be a part of that trusted community. When I first approached, and actually I wasn't the first person to approach our main shelter, and they wanted nothing to do with us. Who are these idiot bunny lovers? Okay. And I mean, seriously, and then somebody that we knew managed to get us, in and to talk to these people. And after that, we are their go-to. When they have a confiscation that includes bunnies, they ask us to be there. We're the source for helping them with all of these rabbits. And so that was a big confiscation. This bunny, horribly matted Angora, filthy, she adopted that. That's one of our volunteers. Okay. Like I said, rescue, people call us now because animal control will not go out and rescue a loose rabbit. They end up calling us, and we have a group that literally goes out and does this. There was a transport, because there were so many bunnies, there are places that can help get bunnies adopted out. This little particular guy up here on the far left actually came from the state of Maryland to us in St. Louis, simply because they know I have a fondness for English lops. And it's like, well, we had this big, thing with English lops. The cage that guy came out of he couldn't stand up in it, if you can see it. There was another picture, it was only about 18 inches long. He couldn't lay down. This guy was 3 years old. Literally took him a month before he could stretch out, which now he does a lot, he's not like this long. And it took another 2 months for all the muscle atrophy, to go, be taken care of. Now we take him to all of our bunny yoga classes, and he has a blast. I mean, he runs the whole room. We had a confiscation over in Caseyville. The animal control officer has only one officer, and she called us on a -6-degree night. Can you come help us? Okay, we did. This is what the grounds look like. This is a close-up of the cage, the warped wire. No place for these animals to get away from the cold. These particular bunnies were suffering from syphilis. And all of these different things, but we got all of the bunnies out of there. Now the nice thing about this thing, when they did catch up with the breeder, he had no money for any kind of restitution for them, so they made him do community service for it. They made him come to our place. Guess what he got to do? Litter boxes. But I will tell you that all of our volunteers were actually very pleasant to him. And by the time he got finished, he said, I have a lot more respect for rabbits. I never knew any of this. I will never breed another rabbit. So, this is, again, stories. And believe me, Edie and I were going over this stuff yesterday, for growth, etc. And I'm going there. So you never stop learning. Wow, I really should have done that. Because this was a case where a shelter in southern Missouri had this bunny come in. They knew a rescue who knew about us and brought this bunny up to us. So as you can literally see, 2 broken front legs, okay? This is her, she couldn't put any weight on those front legs, obviously. We ended up doing a specialized surgery. These are pins holding her bones together. She is coming along. We are putting her out on our Facebook, and we have raised money to help because that's a very expensive surgery. But she's coming along, and we were able to raise money for that. If I had thought I'd known to realize what Edie was telling me about getting hold of the media, we might have raised a whole lot more money. This is, of course, the little bunny that was, tossed out, and literally the girls who picked up this bunny saw her trying to dodge traffic and then collapse in the middle of an extremely busy street. They jumped out of the car, they did pick her up, they tried to find a veterinarian, nobody, they found us. So again, just being there, they brought in this bunny to us because we were there. Why do we do this? Okay. That's what we're all about. Everything we do is because we're out here trying to save rabbit lives. Okay, and as you go along, this is what we do. So you're over time, you really, are able to do a lot. And this is what we're after. Okay, so all of those people, getting that information out, making people feel happy about getting those bunnies. This is a huge part of what you do. And as everything's been going along, these are the people who become your volunteers, who become your supporters, who become your donors, because they're really happy about what you're doing. Okay? Thank you.